Hello, everyone. Are you insanely tired? Me too. It's not even a lead-in for a joke or anything. I'm just exhausted. Nothing a little extra charged caffeine can't fix. 20% extra. That sounds safe. Daiju days. It is time, yet again, for the quarterly nightmare that is Anime Seasoning, the show where I wait until the halfway point of a season to give you my first impressions on every show that comes out in each new anime seasoning. The traditional What the Fluff hat is raring to go, filled, as always, with scraps of paper with garbage written on them. Best not to keep it waiting, for it is an instrument of the anime gods, and to draw their ire is to invite a smiting with a lightning bolt made of truck-chans. Let us begin. And the first selection's always the most important. It sets the tone for the whole video. Heaven's Design Team. Ooh, Mr. Atheist likes a show about God. How do you reconcile that, Mr. Atheist? Oh, get bent. This show has as much to do with theology as Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Like, it's there, but it's not really there. And even if it was, who cares? The show is good, it's entertaining, it looks nice, and it's got fun facts about animals, and I like animals. Do you want to see a show where a unicorn dies of a calcium deficiency, so then a big burly man rips the horn off its head and puts it on a whale to create the narwhal? If so, then this is a show for you. It's like if Zafrank's YouTube show True Facts were an anime. Because you got all these eccentric characters, and they're creating all of the animals on Earth, and it's just completely ridiculous, yes, but it's enjoyable. I would recommend it. But take heed. If you watch it too much, you might start quoting scripture. What man of you, having watched 100 anime, if he missed one, doth leave the other 99 in the wilderness? Tezuka, 15:4. Bottom tier character, Tomozaki. I always get excited whenever a show is about the gamers, trademark. Tomozaki is an incel, and that automatically ranks him about a 9.8 on the appealing character meter. I can't wait to learn about how he's a miserable boy who has no time for the 3Ds, and how could a girl ever grow to love him? Thankfully for Tomozaki, he meets girl. I didn't think to write her name down, and I don't care to look it up. The duo are number 1 and number 2 ranked in the killer app video game Attack Families for the Yantemdo Smash. The fake game and console are the best part of the show. Anyway, she's absolutely mortified when she finds out that this fucking loser is number 1 at the video game, and it's like, oh my goodness. You mean to say that a guy who plays nothing but one video game and is kind of a shut-in is highly ranked in that one video game? That's crazy. And as much as I don't care for Tomozaki or his outlook on life, I really didn't need to see the guy getting berated for, like, superficial stuff. And this girl, she goes, like, hard on this guy. Like, she complains that his shoes are dirty, his pants are wrinkled, he's got bedhead. It's like, I think, honey, you are missing the real point of why this guy is unappealing. And how are you gonna combat that by being just as unappealing yourself? Naturally, romance between the two starts to bloom, and I think I'd rather swallow a Yamtemdo Smodge whole than continue to watch it. Next. So I'm a spider. So what? Okay, so this is a weird one. And it's not just because the premise is that a girl gets isekai'd and turned into a spider. That does nothing for me. I don't think there's a race of fantasy creatures that exist that some salaryman or school child hasn't become in the pathway of another isekai. No, this one is weird because half of it is great, and half of it fucking sucks. An entire high school class is isekai'd in an explosion, which is what happens when a truck-chan doesn't even like you like that, baka. One girl in the class reincarnates as a spider, and everything with her is great. I love it. I love the design of the spider, I like the character herself, I love watching her adapt to her new video game-style world, I think the progression of her abilities is interesting, she's great. Unfortunately, the show's other half is dedicated to the other students in the class, and aside from one of them that turns into a dragon, I think, they're all worthless. I couldn't stand them. I either didn't like them, or I didn't care about what they had going on. Essentially, the way it works is all of the classmates were reincarnated into these different roles, but I think I would have preferred had they all become animals or monsters, or better yet, I'd have preferred the entire focus of the series just been on the spider, and we met these other characters later as like side distractions because nothing they've got going on interested me in the slightest. And I feel like the animators kind of agreed with me because all of the fights that involve the spider are really well choreographed and really interesting. The last episode of this that I watched, the other characters were fighting a giant dragon and it looked really lame. When it comes to a recommendation, I don't recommend it because how could I? Like, how could I say to people like, hey, you guys should totally check out the show. 50% of it is garbage. Like, what? No. Next. Cells at Work Season 2 / Cells at Work Code Black. That's right, this one's a twofer. I'm calling both shows. I really loved the first season of Cells at Work, so I was pretty excited to check out Season 2, and they also released a spin-off series called Cells at Work Code Black, which I also thought was pretty intriguing. What I really love about Cells at Work is how light and fun it is to go along with the goofy, bloody violence, and Cells at Work has already had a season for us to get to know the characters that are involved, so Season 2 could just jump right into the action like there's already an established tone, there's a comfort zone that the show can operate in and thrive with. If you liked Season 1, you'll like Season 2. Code Black, on the other hand, is a much different beast. It's a lot darker, it has a more somber tone, and that's because the body that the cells live in is shitty and falling apart. Like, it has erectile dysfunction, gonorrhea, is passing kidney stones, I think it has a UTI. Like, I am expecting Bro's dick to just flat fall off at any minute. It's a much different type of show, and I don't think that darker tone works. There's a whole new slate of cells to meet, and I think conceptually they're fine. Like, I like that the red blood cell is this young rookie who's really trying his best as his leaders struggle to stay motivated amidst pending disaster. Unfortunately, I think the comedy and aesthetic of Cells at Work as a franchise kind of gets in the way of this overall tone. Like, it always feels like tonal whiplash whenever there's talk of depression or alcoholism and how it affects the cells, but then on the opposite token, you'll have the body start jacking off and they show sperm cells as being these giant white submarines that have human heads sticking out the top. I will say, though, Code Black should absolutely scare you into taking better care of your own body, because think about all the pretty anime ladies and twinks that live inside you that you're letting down when you're not taking care of yourself. Do you really want to disappoint them in such a way? As for a recommendation, I don't love Code Black, but I don't hate it either. I guess I'm kind of just watching it out of respect, so there's that. Wonder Egg Priority. Wonder Egg Priority is the best title of any anime ever. It's not a paragraph in length, which is a plus. And it's like a jumble of random words, but it's an interesting sounding jumble of random words. Like, I was immediately intrigued to find out what this was about. The first thing that you notice about Wonder Egg Priority is that it's very pretty. It has a nice aesthetic, great animation, the character designs are A tier. Main character is a girl named Oto Ai, and I love her design. I think it's great. I love the yellow hoodie with the short blue hair. I think that really works. The heterochromia was a little bit busy, but it does tie into the character, so I'm fine with it. There's a great mystery that gets set up with the eggs themselves. The show has a lot to say on the topics of depression, bullying, and acceptance. It covers some heavier topics as well. And I'm very interested to see where this is all going to lead. One aspect of that great animation is the action scenes are really cool and really, really well designed. I love the look of the action scenes. Ai's main weapon is like a multicolored click pen that turns into like a floral sword. I thought that was really cool. Visually intriguing, well set up mystery, great characters. I would totally say check it out, provided of course you can handle the more heavier aspects of the show. There's some stuff that I can totally see not being too great for people with certain anxieties, so keep that in mind. Skate Leading Stars. You know, man, fuck this show. Just kind of on principle. Like, it's a combination sports and idol series, both of which I don't like usually, and it's being done by JC Staff, an animation studio that has steadily disappointed me more and more as time has gone on. The only reason I even checked this out in the first place was because the show had to invent a brand new type of figure skating to be about, just so people wouldn't accuse it of being Yuri on Ice. And I wanted to check it out just to see how well they established those rules. but I think something was just wrong with the initial upload that I saw on Funimation's website. Like, nothing was wrong with my internet at the time, but I felt like I was watching it in 10 frames per second, and it was hurting my eyes, so I just stopped. Do you want to know what my opinion on it is? It's very simple. Quit being a bitch and just watch Yuri on Ice like an adult. Next. Skate the Infinity. Go figure. I just got through saying I don't usually cover sports series, and here's another sports series. But this one seemed a little too goofy to pass up. Also, I don't think I've ever really seen skateboarding represented in anime form, and especially not in the ludicrous form that it appears in here. Basically, there's these really silly Saturday morning cartoon-esque characters that are skating down a mine shaft in these downhill jams skateboarding drag races, and it's just... the concept is amazing. I feel like every single one of these characters should just be stoners, but instead they look like they were plucked right out of Twisted Metal. Like, there's this one guy who's watching all of the action happen on a bunch of CRT monitors while he's listening to Beethoven's Fifth. Just ridiculous. Unfortunately, I didn't find the main characters to be too appealing. The lead character, Reki, reminded me a lot of Auto Rocket from Rocket Power, a show I despise, so that wasn't great. And outside of the goofy premise, this really did feel like anime Rocket Power, and I think I'm good on that. Next. X-Arm. This show belongs in a fucking museum. I've never seen anything like this. I would assume it's the dream of every mangaka who's working their heart out on their own series to one day have it get an anime adaptation. Like, manga's popular, sure, but if you want that worldwide acclaim, you gotta get that anime adaptation. If I were the mangaka behind X-Arm, I'd be furious. I would be on the phone with Crunchyroll HQ yesterday trying to figure out what the hell stunt they think they're trying to pull. X-Arm has some of the worst CG animation I've ever seen. It makes the non-Monty segments of Ruby Season 1 look like fucking Satoshi Kon. Just miserable. The characters are lifeless, the rigs barely move, their eyes are hollow and dead. There's a part in this where there's a CG character and a 2D drawn character that share the same frame and they're talking to each other against like a painted background, and it just looks absolutely bizarre. I saw quite a few people talking about the censored kiss, and trust me, after watching this, I don't think it's anything to do with censorship, because you know what? There's two females that kiss in the manga, and there isn't a weird lens flare over it. I think they honestly just did it because they realized that it would have looked terrible watching these CG rigs do anything resembling intimacy. Like, if they'd have left it alone, it would have looked like this. Pretend this is a girl. The fight scenes don't do much better. The first one they show is covered in this weird, dusty film grain, and there's muzzle flare effects everywhere. Couldn't see a single thing that was going on. Just absolutely terrible. Like, of course, don't watch this. Like, what the fuck? Other side, Picnic. I haven't been on a picnic in like 22 years. Hey y'all, when COVID's a thing of the past and we all get to go back to anime cons, y'all want to go on a picnic? Like, I kind of want to go on a picnic with some friends. We can have sandwiches and potato salad and beer, because we're adults. Other Side Picnic is great. I love the titular Other Side. I think it's a cool parallel world. I like that the horror elements all have this like creepypasta feel to them. But what really makes it all work are the two main characters. These two gals are slowly becoming pals, and I am absolutely here for it. I love their dynamic as like the peppy girl and the shy, gloomy girl that bring out the best in each other. It's great. And it's all happening with monsters around. What better time than that for love to bloom? I would absolutely recommend this. If I can grab it. Jesus. Kemono Jihen. Hell yeah, this one's great. This is one of the few shows that I was actually interested in before the season started, and it was absolutely worth it. The story follows Kamane. He's a demon boy from an armpit of a village, and they don't like him because he smells bad, I guess. Anyway, he gets basically adopted by this guy named Inugami, and I say basically because he gets shot in the head, as you do. Now that he's living with Inugami in Tokyo, he finds out that Inugami is part of this agency that protects the people from monsters with his group of similarly demonic children. And I love their dynamics. They're all great. Kabane really works as this super awkward, crazy powerful fish out of water character, like if a fish could punch the head off a caribou at a moment's notice. There's Shigi, who's like the bratty older brother character, and he wants to be respected as the elder, even though he's like 14 and the other kids are like 13. He also has cool spider powers. 'Tis the season for spiders, I guess. Spiders and cock. That was the season for me. The other character in the group is a boy named Akira, who hasn't really gotten an opportunity to shine as much as the other two have, which is a shame. The stuff they have done with him is not as interesting. They even introduced another kid to the group, and she's more interesting than he is, even though he's been there longer. They've tried to give him a little bit more in recent episodes. It's not amazing, but the show is still really strong, and all the characters are still really great. I've liked all the characters they've introduced. It's a fun little Monster of the Week show. I'm intrigued to see where it's all going to end up. I would definitely recommend it. Horimiya. Horimiya is a good show. I recommend it. Next. Fine. The two leading characters in Horimiya are perfectly fine. I like Miyamura because he's like a different kind of cat outside of school than when he's in school. While he's in school, he wears his hair down and he's kind of shy, and it covers up his like ear piercings, his lip piercings. He wears the long-sleeved school uniform because he's got tats all up his arms. I thought that aspect of him was pretty great, and he's just like a cool dude. I like that. Hori, on the other hand, she's like a super popular girl, but outside of school, she's working really hard to keep things up at home. The two of them have a fun little rom-com romance. I was worried because the first character we meet is their teacher, and the first things he says to Hori is that she should have more self-confidence because he likes girls that have smaller chests, and it's just like, first of all, bruh. Second of all, bruh. And third of all, and this is probably the most important, bruh, she's a child, like what the fuck? But then he didn't show up again for the rest of the episode, so thank God. Look, the show is decent. There's an audience for it that's gonna like it a lot. That audience just isn't me. When it comes to romance shows, I kind of prefer there's a little bit more going on in the story, or there's a little more depth to the characters. Like, that's why I gravitated towards something like Other Side Picnic, because the romance in that is fun, but there's also, like, monsters. So there's, like, a little bit extra going on, and that's what I like. So this is good. Not for me. People are gonna like it. Next. Hortensia Saga. Alright, so I tend to miss a lot of stuff plot-wise in shows that I don't care about, but I don't feel bad because I didn't care in the first place. And the reason why I tell you that is because I definitely missed something with Hortensia Saga. And it may sound profound, what with having a word like saga in the title, meaning a tale of heroic achievement, but it's anything but. It's completely unimportant. Zing. The show is about a young princess. Her father gets brutally murdered by a werewolf as her kingdom is being burnt to the ground. She's rushed away to live with the son of one of the knights as a boy, presumably to hide her identity. As she grows up, she learns to fight so that she may one day return and reclaim her homeland. So here's where I got lost. Why did she need to hide her gender? Like, there was no point in her being raised as a male. Like, it's not an allegory for anything. There was nothing profound being said. It wasn't a validation of trans people. There was no textual reason to do it. It's not like the army had a ban on female fighters. Like, there's other women fighting alongside her, so it wasn't for that reason. And it's not just like a sick disguise. I mean, women can be disguised as women. Even the lie that they tell to the knight's son is that this kid is just an orphan that they saved. And if your lie is that she's just an orphan, why did she have to be a male orphan? Like, why can't she just be a girl that fights? Maybe these questions get answered in future episodes, or maybe they're even answered in the first episode, but I didn't find any of it to be interesting enough to want to find out. Or care. Next. Gekidol, or Gekidol. Whatever the fuck. I do not give a flying fuck, a fuck that flies, about idol series. I tend not to cover them here because I find them to be not meant for me. Some people really like them, and I appreciate our differences in taste, friend. But I did decide to check out Gekidol because I read in the synopsis that it was happening adjacent to like an apocalypse of some kind. Like, the world was in ruin and chaos, and the girls used this weird idol technology to brighten everyone's spirits, and I thought that was going to be an interesting edge. Instead, it turned out it was a damn lie, because there was no apocalypse. The world is doing absolutely fine. I think there was something lost in translation. It wasn't destruction, it was construction. Like, there was just some high-rise buildings near where the theater is that happen to be under renovation. And once I found that out, this just became another Idol series. And at that point, a flock of fucks flew overhead. And I didn't care about a single one. Next. Jobless reincarnation. No. No. Thank you. I don't want to. A regular piece of shit of a human being is Truck-chan, just to let you know how far her standards have fallen. He gets reincarnated as a little baby boy, but he still gets his adult brain and personality. And of course, the first thing he wants to do upon meeting his new mother and being breastfed by her is to cop a feel. Ha! But it gets better because he gets a little bit older and now he's a toddler running around and he's harassing all of the other female characters too. But now it's funny because it's a toddler doing it. No. Nada, non, ie, burn, next. World Trigger Season 2. Hell yeah. Ah, man, World Trigger. What a journey I've had with this series. I love World Trigger. World Trigger is one of my favorites. Oh, there's just so much to love about it. Like, the characters are really strong. The writing is really good. Even, like, the tactical writing is good. Like, it's not even just the characters that are strong in World Trigger. Oh, man, I love it so much. And I think when I learned that World Trigger was going to get an anime adaptation all those years ago when they did season 1, I think it was the most excited I'd ever been for a series getting an adaptation. The art in the manga is good, but I thought the team-based battles and the distinctive designs, I thought it was going to lend itself really well to the animated format. Unfortunately, it fell victim to the tale of two Toei animations. Sometimes Toei can be really good, and other times I feel like they're really lazy. I get the need for efficiency. I understand that it's prudent in animation to find ways to save time and resources, because otherwise it's just tedious and expensive. I get that. But if you've watched anything animated for a long enough time, you can tell the difference between efficiency and cut corners. Season 1 of World Trigger was definitely lazy Toei, and I just got so annoyed at seeing what could have potentially been the best segments of the manga to be so poorly represented that I just got sick of it, and I was like, I'm done with it. If they do a season 2, I'm not even gonna bother. But then I heard that the animation was like much better, so I was just like, you know, whatever, I'll check it out. And it is so much better. It's finally, like, the fights actually look good now. There's all these different characters, they're all interacting, and it's great. I just love World Trigger. World Trigger is so good. I take so much inspiration from it in my own work. Of course, I recommend World Trigger in almost any capacity. Like, the first season of the anime is, I mean, animation-wise, it's not very good, so I would say read the manga, but definitely experience World Trigger if you can. Suppose a kid from the last Dungeon Boonies, blah, 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 these damn anime with their run-on sentence titles pissing me off. Initially, I didn't have high hopes for this one. I thought at best it would be decent or inoffensive, but it turns out I actually quite liked it. There was a lot of things I thought were strong. It was pleasantly funny. It had a nice aesthetic. I thought the character designs were good, and there were some pretty fun segments. Now, of course, I didn't think that was going to last, so I was pretty leery watching subsequent episodes, but to my surprise, it remained strong. The story follows Lloyd Belladonna, a pure cinnamon roll of a boy who lives in a town where there's high-leveled monsters. And he leaves that town to move to a new one to join the Knights Academy because the village that he lived in before thought he was their weakest member. But of course, in the new town, he's miles away the strongest character. I've mentioned before the use of super overpowered characters and using them properly versus improperly, and here it works, and it's because Lloyd is so pure. He had to be a likable character in order for all of this to work, and he is, and it helps the comedy and it makes the show more fun to watch. I would say to check it out if There wasn't an element of the show that I really didn't like, and if I didn't point it out, it would be hypocritical on my part. There are some jokes in this series that are made at Lloyd's expense that are really yucky, and I will preface by saying that he is a 15-year-old child. Every single character in this show adores him, but most of them just want to get in his pants. And you know what? For the characters that are at least his own age, fine. You know, whatever. I mean, I was in high school. I know how high schoolers think. When I was a freshman in high school, a good percentage of my freshman class was pregnant. And that is an effect to a very specific cause. Where I take issue is with the adult characters that make passes at him. And one of them, if you squint at it from 100 miles away, maybe you can defend it as just her being a loving caretaker and it's just innocent, but then every time he smiles at her, her nose starts to bleed, and that's not good. Then there's another adult character who legitimately 100% just wants to jam his penis into a jar of chocolate. I'm not kidding. It's disgusting, and there's no way you can interpret it in any different way. Like, the camera zooms in on the poor kid's crotch when she holds up the jar. And of course the character who's doing this looks like she's the same age as him, but she's a witch, and the show takes great pains to inform the audience that she's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. It's gross. At the end of the day, a spade is a spade, and this show can go bury itself with it. A very disappointed next. I'm not, like, actually disappointed. Like, it's just anime. Like, what the fuck? Dr. Ramune. I wish I had some Ramune right now. I remember the first time I actually tried it. It was at Kineticon 2013, I think. And I was terrified that that little marble was going to fall into the liquid and I was going to drink it and choke on it and die. And it took a worrying amount of convincing from my friends for me to accept that that was just pure nonsense. I miss anime cons. As for the show, I am going to tell you right now what happens in the first episode. And if what I'm about to say intrigues you in any way, then you have no choice but to keep watching it like I did. Dr. Ramune is a disease specialist. More specifically, a mysterious disease specialist. If you were to go to the doctor with a regular disease, like, I don't really know diseases. Is there one going on right now? Pick one. They might be able to help you if you go to a regular doctor. But if you've got something that modern medicine can't explain, you go see Dr. Ramune. In the first episode, there's a young girl, and she's in a bad way. Because something is wrong with her eyes. Every time she cries, nothing comes out. Well, nothing except mayonnaise. In episode 2, a man's dick is replaced with a fish cake. There's one lady whose ears become pot stickers. Beware the monkey's paw, otherwise it can make you cry condiments or turn your penis into a pan-fried snack. The hidden dungeon only I can enter. Hey, is this that gross sex pest show? No, that's the other one. You're thinking of Redo of Healer. That one's not streaming on any legitimate service. I don't have to worry about that one. No, that's the other one. That's Jobless Reincarnation. We already covered that. Now, this one's Hidden Dungeon. Okay, so basically in this series, Bro can cure his headaches, increase his stamina, or level up by having kissing sessions with his harem. Wow, intimacy releases endorphins, who knew? Pretty much no matter what happened, I wasn't gonna stick with this show. Obviously not for me. But I decided to turn it off the second he started schmoozing up to his little sister. Haha, yuck. Next. Final 4, baby, Final 4. LBX Girls. Anime has trained me over the years to automatically repulse whenever I see the word girls in the title. It's like a gag reflex. You can never trust it if the word girl is just alone, surrounded by, like, random letters or wingdings. It's never a good sign. This is a show about girls who fight monsters. They wear specialized power armor that also conveniently doubles as swimwear. The mechanized suits grant them extra power, stamina, or even the gift of flight. Like a flock of fucks. Hey, it's a good thing that our monster designs are skyscraper in size, says one storyboard artist to his overworked partner. He responds, swilling noodles from his beef ramen bowl. Did you say behind? Fuck. I love a good butt. And that's basically LBX Girls in a nutshell. Next. Scar on the Praetor. For some reason I wrote Scar on the as one word. Scaranth Praetor. There's nothing I hate more than a series that gives me nothing to work with. As I was watching Scar on the Praetor, I was reminded of a couple of series that I don't really like. One of them being Taboo Tattoo, because they're both shows that have tattoo-related powers. I was also reminded of Handshakers, because they have like a similar aesthetic. Like, that's not great. I hate both of those shows. Not that that's Scar on the Praetor's fault. It's just bad vibes to be putting out. In fact, they're terrible vibes. A lot of the characters in this show look similar, like facial structure, musculature, hairstyle, movements. It's like they've got all these factions of characters, and they're all just living their day-to-day lives in blissful blandness. I wish I had something more interesting to say, but Scar on the Praetor is kind of like a scar that I have on the ring finger of my left hand. It's there. I'm really mixing up these last two. Back Arrow. The first episode of Back Arrow is called Do Guys from the Sky Have Undies? Positive start. The story takes place in the fantasy world of Lingaland, and I immediately thought of the Blue Hearts. Dobu nezumi mitai ni utsukushiku naritai. Rinda rinda! Rinda, rinda, rinda. Oh, they touched. I hope you like that reference, because it's all I've got for Back Arrow. It's a mecha series with bland mecha designs, it's a comedy series where the jokes aren't funny, and it's an action series with bland action. What do you want from me? The last one, it's always the fun part, the final one. Wave! Let's go surfing. I had to do a lot of deflecting this season. I ended up checking out a lot of first episodes of shows I wouldn't ordinarily go anywhere near. I don't know why that is. You would think after all the crap that I put up with last season that I wouldn't even bother, but I did. Here I am watching a show about surfing. I suppose the reason I decided to check this out is because I read in the synopsis that it was kind of about the characters dealing with the fleeting summer and that they would all eventually grow apart, even though they had this thing that brought them all together. And I thought, that sounds like it could be interesting. And then it ended up being Anime Rocket Power. Again, twice in one season. You know, I'm not going to be completely unfair to it. There were a couple of things I liked. I liked that the main character's nickname is Corgi. That's fucking adorable. Corgi can't swim, and he's taking his actual Corgi for a walk when he looks out to the sea and he sees a boy who is... Hold on, I took notes on this. He is... let's see. He is shredding the spray, slicing the salt, becoming one with the rolling current, hanging 10, surfing. His narration at that point says that his fate was sealed, and I guess what that means is that he knew in that moment he was going to be a surfer. But in reality, what happened was he saw a twink in a wetsuit, and the fate that sealed is that he was gonna try and fuck that guy. There's a character in the show whose surfboard is basically a body pillow. Hysterical. Next. Oh, well, there is no next, so... Conclusion. So that is it for another rousing edition of Anime Seasoning. I was actually pretty impressed this season. There was more shows that I decided to stick with than in years past. I was more positive as well, even towards the stuff I didn't really care for. I mean, there was the crap that's like the stupid sex pesty stuff that I always want to burn and fire, but the average stuff, the stuff I didn't stick with, was still generally fine, but the good stuff is really good this season, so... I've now been doing Anime Seasoning for a full year, and it's certainly been a ride. I look forward to another year of garbage to be bestowed upon me by the anime gods. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. What shows are you sticking with this season? Which ones did you want burned from your memory forever? Let me know down below. If you want a more direct way to support me, you can head on over to Patreon. $2 patrons get 24-hour early access to videos like this, and $10 patrons get to choose a topic of discussion within reason, of course. So if there's any shows that I discussed today that you would like to see full videos on, that's how you can guarantee that gets done. The description is going to have links to my novel and my webcomic. My latest novel, Cryptid Radio, is available now on Amazon. You should totally get it, because I enjoyed reading it and writing it. I did both of those things quite a few times. So I know that's a lot to keep up with. If you need updates, follow me on Twitter, or you can head on over to Instagram if you want to watch me slowly but progressively get better at art. That's all I've got for today. I appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next Anime Seasoning.